What up everyone, Clayton here, and today we're back with another Skyrim build. Today's build is called the Fire Demon. This is a Khajiit unarmed kind of destruction mage that uses a lot of fire magic to kill his enemies. This build is called the Fire Demon, and it was suggested by Christopher Smith. He left a comment on the previous video talking about this build, so that's what we're going to do today. He even has some backstory here for us as well. So anyways, the Fire Demon lived in Elsewhere as a son of a poor merchant caravan owner. He was a devout follower of the Daedric princess Molech Bal, Mehrunes Dagon, and Clavicus Vial. He eventually aspired to be a Daedric prince himself, but when the princess discovered this treachery, they killed him, destroying his soul. However, a piece of his consciousness remained and retained a portion of his original power. However, he was forced to bond himself to Azura's Black Star, yes, lest he be destroyed utterly. So pretty much that's the reason why he came to Skyrim, is that he needs to find the Azura's Black Star to be able to bind himself to it so he does not die, which is the only way he can survive, and that's when he gets caught crossing the border and the events of Skyrim transpires. So anyways, let's go ahead and get into the skills for this unarmed build. So we have Conjuration, Destruction, Restoration, Enchanting, and Heavy Armor. So for Conjuration, we're going to need that because we're going to be using Flame Atronachs to kind of be our bodyguards and deal damage as well. It also fits in with the Flame aspect. For Destruction, you want to make sure to boost all your fire abilities because you'll be using those a lot. You'll be using a lot of Wall of Flames as well as Fire Runes and stuff like that. For Restoration, you'll be using some wards against some mages, so you want to make sure to pick up all the stuff that helps you with your wards, as well as Respite. That way you can heal yourself, as well as give stamina, so you can unarm attack even more. And Enchanting, you'll be using unarmed, so you want to make sure you get the unarmed damage enchantment and enchant as much of your armor as you can. That way you do as much damage as you can. And for Heavy Armor, you'll be using this a little bit just for the Fist of Steel perk, which allows unarmed attacks with Heavy Armor Gauntlets to do their armor rating and damage. So with the skills out the way, let's go ahead and talk about gameplay. For this build, you'll be using a lot of destruction magic as you do unarmed damage. So my main priority when I go into a battle is I want to get up my Atronachs, my Flame Atronachs, and then after that I want to get my Flame Cloak. The Flame Cloak allows you to do damage around yourself and is really useful. Also, you can use either Flame Rune or Wall of Flame. The Wall of Flame kind of paints a flame on the ground wherever you spray it, and it stays there for a short period of time. I like to spray that around where I think I'm going to be fighting. That way the enemy takes damage over time while I stand in it. And Fire Rune is pretty good for big bursts of damage to any enemy, and I found that this build has a lot of damage potential in it just because there's so much flame, and flame kind of has a damage over time ability on it that's really good. And also, since you'll be using unarmed attacks, you want to make sure you get Heavy Armor Gauntlet to be able to use that Fist of Steel perk. And if you have any spellcasters you're facing, make sure to put up a ward. That way you can block it a little bit so you don't die as fast. So yeah, that's kind of how you play this build. This build is really fun to play, I must say. I had a lot of fun making this build, and it's probably one of my funnest builds I've had in a long time, where I kind of just wanted to go around and fight stuff in Skyrim and punch the shit out of it. So let's go ahead and talk about your weapons and armor. You won't be using weapons, you'll be using your claws, and Khajiits have a bonus to unarmed damage, so that's really helpful as a Khajiit. For armor, I've been using the Mystic Dawn robes with hood, as well as their boots. That way it kind of fits in with the red of fire, and I think it really fits the build as best it can. As well as for the gauntlets, I use Daedric gauntlets, since the whole backstory talks about how he wants to be Daedric prince. I think the Daedric gauntlets really focus on that. And like I said earlier, you have a lot of spells you've been using, as well as Flame Atronach, Wall of Flame, Flame Cloak is really important to put on yourself, as well as Flame Wall, or Wall of Flame, to paint the ground with a flame, and you can stand in that and do a lot of damage. We also have shouts in this build as well. You want to have Flame Breath or Fire Breath to kind of fit in with the fire, as well as Dragon Aspect that can kind of shield you and kind of just generally overall boost your damage and all of your abilities. It's really useful, and I want to thank the build creator for putting that in there, because I would have never used Dragon Aspect on this build, but with his comment I made sure he did. Also, for the stat distribution, you want to have 50% Magicka, 40 into health, and 10% into stamina, just like the comment said. I think this kind of gives a good spread of Magicka, because you'll be pumping out a lot of spells, and you also want to stay alive. You don't really need too much stamina, since you shouldn't be power attacking with unarmed, but yeah, that should be pretty much about it. If you guys want to pick up any of these standing stones, I think Mage would probably be the best to level up your abilities. Maybe even the Lord Stone, which allows you to get some more armor and some more magic resist on you. That way you can stay alive a little bit better in fights. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this build. This build was really fun to make, and please make sure to thank the creator, Christopher Smith, for this. Without his comment, this build wouldn't be here. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with this build. Most of the gameplay is actually on master difficulty, and which is kind of surprising because usually you get murdered as a mage in it, but you do so much damage that the enemies kind of have difficulty even fighting you. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to check out these 2 videos here of our previous builds, and I'll see you guys in the next one. This is Clayton, signing out.